You're about to be famous. How do you feel? All right.
Have a seat. Girl. This is Honey, my golden retriever, and today I'm going to groom her. Grooming a dog, actually taking care of a pet in general, is an IADL as defined by the practice framework, which says arranging, supervising, or providing care for pets and service animals. Honey's not a service dog. She didn't quite pass her test for that. She's a little misbehaved. This can also lead, taking care of a pet that is, can also lead to other IADLs like shopping because you need to buy materials to take care of your pet, health and home management and maintenance, because if you have a pet like a golden retriever, their hair can get all over the house and it's really messy, so picking up that hair can definitely be part of caring for a pet and a home as well. So before I start, if I were working with a client on learning how to groom their pet, first I would want to definitely analyze the activity. What exactly am I looking for? What exactly is this client wanting to accomplish through this occupation? So the first thing I would ask myself is, have I personally groomed a dog before? If the answer is no, then I definitely have some work to do before I can start to help them as a therapist to learn more about this occupation. Another way that I could learn more about the activity and kind of analyze it on the get-go would be by watching my client participate in the activity themselves. So maybe if Honey was their dog, I would ask them, can you groom your dog? And observe, talk to them while they were grooming, just to kind of see and get an understanding for what they may need support with. Additionally, I could have somebody else, the client or maybe even a professional dog groomer, explain to me what grooming was of the animal so that I could make sure that I would have a clear understanding before beginning any therapeutic treatment. The next thing I for sure would want to find out would be, why is this IADL important to my client? What is it about taking care of their pet that gives them purpose, that they find meaning in, and that is influential to their daily life? For example, maybe the client really enjoys having a clean home, and they can't do that with a golden retriever unless they're grooming her, brushing her, showering and bathing her regularly. Perhaps the client just finds intrinsic enjoyment in taking care of their pet. It can be really good therapy for anybody in general to have an animal that they love, that they can take care of. Also, I'd want to find out from the client if this was a performance pattern for them. Maybe not ask them directly, but through my questioning of them, through getting to know them a little bit better, I'd find out, is this a routine in your life? Is this part of a role that you have? Maybe in the household, the mom is in charge of grooming the dog, so that would be part of their mothering role in the household community. You're doing a good job. You're doing a great job. The next thing to consider would be the steps and the timing involved in the care of a pet. So they're always around, so anytime is a good time to groom them, to shower them. Personally, with Honey, especially in the summertime, I love to bathe her in the morning. In my personal opinion, the best spot, the best space to groom, specifically brush a golden retriever, is outside, which is why I'm outside right now. Her hair gets everywhere, as you'll see when I start to demonstrate here in a second. So it's really important that I groom her outside so that all of this thick hair doesn't get all over my house even more. So here's my occupational kit for taking care of a pet. Honey's going to be very interested in this when I open it. Put a lot of different things in here that go into taking care of a pet, but I'm going to demonstrate what it takes to groom her. So for example, a DVD that says Secrets to Training the Perfect Dog. I think I failed some of this when I was training Honey when she was a puppy, but who's counting? Also, a toy. She loves her favorite toys. Here's another toy, a ball. And now all of the things that are important for grooming. First of all, I'm not going to demonstrate bathing Honey today because that's kind of a whole different occupation in itself and definitely challenging. But here's a towel, which you would definitely need for that, as well as shampoo, water, all of those different things. Another thing that Honey really doesn't like, but is important, is brushing her teeth. So I have these tools, plastic toothbrush and toothpaste in a tube. It's important for the client to be able to remove the cap, squeeze the toothpaste and put it on the toothbrush, and then to get that toothbrush in doggy's mouth, which she does not like at all. Oh, see, this takes definitely a lot of different motor skills because she'll turn her head a bunch and it's hard for me to get all the way back in there. But really important to keep your dog healthy. Okay, we can be done. I'm sorry you don't like that very much. The best part about grooming Honey is that she loves it. As you can tell, she's getting very excited. This is her brush. She wants me to brush her. She's asking for it. So, another important thing to consider when talking to the client about this activity that they are doing is whether this is a co-occupation. Do they share the care and the grooming of their pet with a spouse, with a significant other? Also, socially, are there children around in the household who can make this a challenge? I'm all by myself out here, but if I had little kids running around and playing, Honey would be distracted, running around and playing with them, and that would add a whole new dynamic into my occupation. So now, as I'm brushing her, I'll get into the different required body structures and body functions that go into brushing and grooming a pet. Definitely a lot of different structures in the body are being used during this activity. For example, my upper limbs, my hands, my digits as I pet her, as I handle the brush, and as I work the brush down her fur. Look how happy she is. There are also systems at play here, like my cardiovascular system, my respiratory system as I sit here and breathe to pet her, my nervous system as my brain thinks and understands what to do in order to groom my dog, different muscles, bones, joints, skin, structures like that. As far as body functions go, there are many functional aspects that are challenged during this activity, like the mobility of joints, overall flexibility, and process-wise, a certain level of cognition is needed in order to carry out and complete the activity. Additionally, lots of muscles of the upper limbs are used. As you can see, I'm sitting down. That tends to help even me, and I could see how it would help a lot of clients who maybe were not able to stand the whole time they're brushing their dog. Another important body function would be flexion and rotation of the trunk, because as I lean down to get her belly, I really have to bend over to make sure that all of her hair is being brushed. Another aspect to grooming that I like to incorporate is this handy dandy thing. You just slip your hand inside here and she loves it. It's like a nice doggy massage. Of course, there are a lot of process skills also that are important when considering brushing, grooming, and taking care of a pet. And I think that the important ones are grips in order to hold on to either your dog's collar or the different tools that you're using to complete the activity. Also, coordination, positioning, stabilizing. I think positioning and location to the dog as far as how far away from them you are. I already spoke about bending, but that's definitely another motor skill that is needed. Additionally, calibrating. I don't think it would be good if I was brushing my dog really, really hard and hurting her, or not hard enough so that I didn't get all the fur, all the excess fur off of her that I needed to. I want smooth, fluid motions of my hands and wrists. And pacing. Pacing, both a motor skill and a process skill. I think it could be used in both. Don't want to do this too fast, don't want to take too long to do it, but it definitely would depend on my client and kind of their interpretation of why they're doing this activity and why it's important to them. Process-wise, it's important to choose and use all of the different things that it takes to take care of and groom a dog. So sequencing is also very important. Organizing is critical because we want to make sure that we have all of our things set up and ready to go when we begin to groom. So that way I don't have to run back inside and get something that maybe I forgot and then come back out. I would definitely want to look at different methods of therapeutic intervention. For example, could the client receive help from somebody else? Maybe it's a two-person job. Honey's being pretty calm right now, but if she was rambunctious today, maybe it required one person to hold her and the other person to brush her. Secondly, another intervention that I would recommend is that practice over time. The more and more often that the client groomed their dog, the better at it that they would get, and maybe the more fulfilled they would feel by the end as well. Additionally, using different tools to accommodate would be a recommendation that I could make. Maybe a longer handle brush, if that would help them to reach further down on the dog's body to get different places. Or there's different places where you can take your dog to get groomed, like a wag and wash or any other place like that, to get some extra assistance so that I didn't get all the excess fur off of her that I needed to. Also, flows is really an important motor skill in this regard because I want smooth, fluid motions of my hands and wrists. And pacing. Pacing, both a motor skill and a process skill. I think it could be used in both. Don't want to do this too fast, don't want to take too long to do it, but it definitely would depend on my client and kind of their interpretation of why they're doing this activity and why it's important to them. Process-wise, it's important to choose and use all of the different things that it takes to take care of and groom a dog. It's also important to organize. I wouldn't want to brush my dog and then bathe her because that would be out of order. It's more helpful to bathe the dog, then brush them, because then all of that loose fur gets off and they're all nice and clean when you're finished. Sequencing is also very important because sequencing is also very important. Organizing is critical because we want to make sure that we have all of our things set up and ready to go when we begin to groom. So that way I don't have to run back inside and get something that maybe I forgot and then come back out again at another time. Because after watching my client do all of these things and helping them with different types of therapy, after watching my client do this activity, grooming their pup, I would definitely want to look at different methods of therapeutic intervention. For example, could the client receive help from somebody else? Maybe it's a two-person job. Honey's being pretty calm right now, but if she was rambunctious today, maybe it required one person to hold her and the other person to brush her. Secondly, another intervention that I would recommend is that practice over time. The more and more often that the client groomed their dog, the better at it that they would get, and maybe the more fulfilled they would feel by the end as well. And that is it for my occupational based kit. And it's important to do it all while having fun.